All right. Hello, hello, hello. Let me do one more thing I wanted to do before the stream gets underway here. I'll show the draft board right there. So that is the draft board. Zoom in. There we go. This is the draft board. So that's who's been drafted. We're in the 19th round coming back here. Let me do one small thing that I wanted to do. And I'll be right back to this live stream. All right. This part that I'm looking for. There's the window that I'm looking for. There's the window I'm looking for. There it is. Okay. Got that one. And this one. Okay. This one goes like this. Ooh. Saga continues. Featuring Spencer. Okay. All right. Spencer Thurmond is there. Head onto the stage. There he is.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Good. I'm about to get to make these picks before I got to wake up in the morning and do it. So
that's right.
Same with you too. I guess is kind of you get caught behind it here at the night. You got to kind of finish it up. But
that's right. Well, hey, tell me what you're thinking.
I'm thinking Miguel Vargas. I don't know if that makes too much sense, but that's where I'm going with it. He's kind of tops on my board here in terms of at bats and production, and I need a first baseman, third baseman, and so that's what I think I'm going to do.
All right,
come around the corner. You made some good picks there. You got Jace. You got some pieces you needed, and I want to I know I'm behind in catcher, so I want to be ahead in everything else. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Somebody took the arms I was thinking about taking. As you could see, they took those arms. I think both you and I like. They took Musgrove and Bubic and Mize out there, so there's no getting back to that. I might have taken Bryce Miller, but I think I'm just going to shore up my positions and go with Miguel Vargas.
Yeah, I think Vargas is a good pick here for you. I'm looking at your roster because you've got Caleb Durbin who can play third, and right. Vargas has third and outfield, correct?
He's got third and first.
Third and first, that's what it is. Third and first.
Which is better to me, actually. So
yeah, because I'm just reviewing. Yeah, because you've got arraez, and that's your first, second, but you don't really want to play arraez at first, of course. So I'm assuming that most likely, as of this moment, you probably slot him into your first base spot. Is that how you're going to kind of think of it?
Well, I guess I
know it doesn't matter that much. I'm just wondering what you were thinking.
I would probably slot him at first there just because he has more pop than Arias, but I like that he can cover both of the corner infield positions. And that's what I have with Otto Lopez as well. So it just kind of gives me
that eligibility.
Yeah, it gives me that flexibility. And I guess right here, I'm looking, if you want to, the players I'm looking at are just the flexible players here, Spencer. The other players I were considering would be like Brett Batty and maybe even Ernie Clement, just to get some flexibility here in a DC. I was really considering Brett Batty. People have been talking him up lately, talking about he's going to have more at-bats than you think out there. And people are saying he might even have outfield eligibility. But Miguel Vargas is hitting fourth. That team's supposed to be better than nothing. And I like the corner, the dual corner eligibility. And I will be looking for some dirty power from straight up here on out. But I'd love to get a dirty power third baseman come back to me, a dirty power corner after that. But that's going to be few and far between. That's why I really like your last pick. So I
Yeah,
think I'm
and
pretty much.
Okamoto, theoretically, he might gain eligibility too. That's the thing. That's possible.
See,
Because I've heard he's going to potentially play utility for them. I don't know what that means as far as that means first base, as the only other position.
right.
But it's just something that I've heard him talk about. And because Clement, like you said, he can play so many different positions. So
Yeah, they got Okamoto 5% of first base, so that might get you some eligibility.
I'm looking up Miguel Vargas's projections. There, it's on Oopsie is what I'm looking at. But yeah, they're pretty solid. Because he's kind of right across the board, and he's going to be playing, as we know, almost every day. They got him projected for 526 at bats in 139 games, which is high for projections, right?
Right.
That means he's going to be out there every day, which we kind of knew. That's one of the good things, with the White Sox, and they are improving. The White Sox are better than they were.
And they also, he also plays first. So, Munetaki Murakami might not be out there every day at first. He might be DHing. So I think Vargas, these numbers are going to be a pretty solid projection there. Another player I was looking at there to get a solid projection corner would be Alec Bohm. Although I don't like his numbers, I think that projection is, you can pretty well bank what he's got right there, and that 272 average plays really well. But I'm just going to go ahead.
I'm checking this out for you just real quick. What pick number is this?
This is pick number 273.
All right. So yeah, Miguel Vargas over the last 7 drafts. So last 7 completed drafts, his ADP is 276 with a min pick of 259 and a max of 309. So yeah, you're right there, right at the right spot to take him. He won't make it back around to the next go around. So yeah, buddy.
I know. I just drafted him. I drafted him, and I put him in the sheet now, Spencer. He's in the sheet, so it's official.
It is official. Now mine says on the clock.
Now you're on the clock, man. Now it turned right over to you. Let me take a look and see what I think you might be doing here.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to try to find it. You found your other third baseman. Okay.
Yes.
You just got Kaz, yeah.
Now with Kaz, so I have 2 third base options. Yeah, Kaz and Noelvi Marte. Although, my outfield is light. That's something. But here's the thing. There's a lot of as we know, me and you, we've talked so much throughout this offseason with gladiators, and then, talking some about best ball. And this is just a completely different story. We aren't worried about the gladiator thing of like, no, I can take guys that aren't going to necessarily be in my lineup all year, but can be good for me at times whenever I need to play them. That's why I like so many outfielders late, because as we go deep in outfield, there's a lot of guys at this point that I can see being very valuable throughout the season. So it's why I've been comfortable kind of pushing it. And I can even think of, Noelvi as my corner if I wanted. With this said, I'm glad to hear you talk about the multi-position eligibility aspect with your pick. Because literally that's exactly what I was thinking with this pick. And I've had him starred for the last 2 rounds, waiting for this round, hoping that he would make it there, and he has. And I'm pretty positive, and I'm going to talk this through with you, but I'm pretty positive I'm going to go Carlos Correa.
He was on my radar too there. He was probably 3rd down on my list below Batty for some reason. I got a soft spot for Batty. But that will be your second shortstop there?
So, well, technically he'd be my 3rd, right? Because I have Trey Turner and Jose Perdomo, but Carlos Correa not only has shortstop eligibility, but 3rd. So I can put him at my corner, and he just gives me so much more added flexibility to move around. Whereas like if Okamoto doesn't work out, I can play him at 3rd. It just continues to give me that ability to play with my lineup. And I'm going to real quick check Correa's projections. Let's see.
I got him for like 495 at bats, something like that. Let me pull him up.
So according to here, this is oopsie is what I'm looking at. 505 at bats. Now the thing with Correa, as we know, he's obviously going to play every day if he's healthy. It's being healthy and staying on the field that's the problem. But they haven't projected for a 263 average, which that's a pretty solid average. And I think that's probably understating what he actually can do, which I could see easily more of the 280 average being a thing. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Now, here's why I wanted to talk it out with you.
I think that's a good pick. When I'm looking at his projections, I put another number in there I call variance to show how much the projections vary. And like his overall projections vary just 6% for all those 4 systems. So that means like, and especially being a 30-year-old player like that, who I think has maybe learned how to stay healthy, maybe learned how to get through that stuff he wasn't getting through before, those games he was missing. I think that's a really solid pick. And I think you're right about the average. That's why I had him on my radar as a way to, I'm always doing the thing where I'm trying to get average because I want to get dirty power later. So I was looking at Correa there. He definitely has a better average than the pick that I went with.
And he can hit 20 plus homers very easily, especially back to a full season in Houston. And this is his first full season back with Houston since, I'm going to go look it up. I want to say it was 23 or maybe it was 22. But so regardless, here's why I wanted to talk this out with you real quick, though. Take a look at my outfield and tell me if you agree with where I'm sitting, that, that you think that this is probably the right move and I should continue to push. Because there's several outfielders that I'd be happy with taking right now. And with as far as pitching goes, I've considered going with another reliever because I have 2 relievers. Mason Miller, who I think is locked and loaded. I love Mason Miller potentially as the number 1 closer. And after Uribe, who, I like a lot, and I'm very happy with that pick, but he's not guaranteed anything,
No.
So it's not like with him, I can be like, oh, there's 30 saves. Like, no, I'm not guaranteed that.
Are you talking about Robert Garcia?
No. What I was talking about was Edwin Uceda.
Okay, I see that one too.
Uceda, I was looking at I'm looking at the last 7 drafts, and as far as the last 7 drafts, his ADP is 226. So it's at a good fall according to the last 7 drafts is concerned. Now, I did take Uceda a couple times on some gladiators. That was really kind of earlier, and I even kind of faded off him by the end of gladiator season, but I have him in Gladiator.
And
you've got him in some Gladiators.
I have him paired with Jax and some weird concoctions.
That's the thing. Nothing's guaranteed there as far as Jax. Jax isn't like, gonna be for sure an everyday closer by any means.
No. Yeah, so, I guess you could look closer there. In terms of when you're asking specifically about the outfield, though, you have so many options here where you can go, and you've left yourself that ability there. I think you asked me about what I think about Jack
Caglione. Yeah. What do you think?
I think that's a great pick there. But that's a great DC pick from my DC experience. But I would be like, are you talking about he's a guy that maybe you don't get all the production out of, that you got to maybe switch him out once or twice? Because that might happen. The only thing I would say is that might happen with him at the beginning, or maybe he gets tired. I'm not 100% sold on him being all the way all season.
Well, that's why the thing is, Caglione, I love him in best ball, and of course I've been picking him a lot on underdog, but I didn't draft him. I don't even know if I took him once in Gladiator, and it's because I'm so deathly afraid of him struggling and being sent back down.
Right.
And so it's not like, it's not just underproduction that I can be afraid of. It's also sent back down to the minors that I'm afraid of. He's still incredibly young. He was just in college in 2024.
He jumped 3 levels last year.
Yeah, 2025 was straight to the major. He was drafted in 24, played a little bit at the end of 24 in the minors. So, but he's incredibly, he has one of the best power bats out there, period. This is why I decided to go ahead and take him. I had thought about him the round prior, decided I can't do it for DC. I can't take on that. Then he fell again, and I was like, at this point, I'm going to just assume that risk. And I didn't know how often you think about that as far as like when you draft guys that are technically, right now, he's technically a starter for me, but
Right.
I'm already thinking of him as like a rotation piece that I'm not going to be playing all the time.
I mean, I guess that would be my comment. And I guess I heard you allude to that a little bit earlier when you talked about your lineup having a couple of guys like that. I think maybe that's the only guy I see like that. That's the only small comment I would make about him. Is you might want to have, and they might like pull him out against, did he hit well against lefties? I mean, is it going to be predictable where you can pull him out and switch him out Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Because if that's the case, then you might want to look for that other guy that you're going to put in there to pair with him. And if you're saying that Marte, because there's a whole bunch of outfielders out here and you can get that guy further down. It's just, you've got to maybe be thinking about who's going to, because I love the guy, but he jumped 3 levels. And I've heard, I don't know. That's just my observation.
There's the 2 guys right up at the top that stand out to me in TJ Friedel and Jung-Hoo Lee, as far as like, these are 2 guys that, assuming health, should be hitting at the top of their order pretty consistently every day and could be good pieces that could provide, solid enough, like Luis Arraez type stats, only just not quite as good batting average, but maybe a little bit more power than him. You know what I mean? But they're still like solid average guys that could have a decent amount of runs and throw in some steals. So both of those I'm thinking about, but I still think that Correa is just taking that eligibility is just my best pick here.
Well, I mean, I guess that makes Noel, as I look up your lineup though, let me make this observation. That puts Marte as an outfielder, because then you got to start Correa at corner.
Yeah,
so then
but
you got to play Marte as an outfielder.
It gives me that option still, right?
Okay.
I still think of it as an option.
It gives you an option
because I don't have to play. Correa is someone who, again, yes, I can, if he's healthy, I do feel comfortable just leaving him in my lineup regardless of matchups. But he has had health problems, so whenever I think of this, I always think about like, how can I work this together to fit, and what will be available in the next 2 go around. And ultimately, as I'm looking at all of this, I think what boils down to why I like Correa the most here is because as we move along, I just don't see a lot of dependable batting average guys from this point forward. And I do think Correa gives me that. So with some power and if he was just third, then that would be, I wouldn't be. This is also probably the last year he'll ever be shortstop eligible. I actually thought that his days of being shortstop eligible were behind him until last year, and he kind of lucked into getting shortstop eligibility. So, yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go ahead and lock up Correa for this pick. And
there's
then,
no batting average after that, Spencer. You're exactly right. So,
yep, and then we'll just see what happens when we get back around as far as outfield goes.
I think they're going to auto. I think these next 2 guys are on auto. Yeah, that's what you're saying. You just made this smart comment. What comes back to your next picks will be 297 and 304. So, I think you have a pitcher out there you could probably take, and you're going to have an outfielder you could take out there as well.
Yep, that's initially my next 2 are, I'm thinking either outfield pitcher or maybe outfield catcher 2, depending. But
now, how are you playing catcher this year, man? You asked me. I guess I don't. I feel like I'm playing catcher crazily. How are you playing catcher this year?
Well, this is my first DC, so I'm not going to do the exact same thing in my future ones, I don't think, but we'll see, because I primarily like to wait. That's what I was doing in Gladiators as well. You were talking about that earlier, and that's what I've been doing. Again, right now for my brain and my own drafting, I only have my past DCs, from the past years, and then my Gladiators to focus on how I'm thinking about the catcher pool this year. And since I waited as well, because I also, like you, prefer to take those early round picks on other positions other than the 3rd or 4th round Langoliers or Ben Rice or whatever that may be. and no good catcher fell in this draft to a spot where it came to us that I was like, oh, this is a good fall for this guy. And I considered Tyler Stevenson back 2 rounds ago as my catcher too. And Stevenson ended up going, I forget what round it was, but he went before it came back to me. It was the round I took Caglione. I was considering Stevenson there.
Me
and
too.
Then if Stevenson would have made it with the comeback around, I would have taken him instead of Okamoto and tried to push Okamoto to the next go around. Either way, this is where we are. So,
but I think you're right to say that Stevenson might have been the last quote premium catcher right there.
He was, because now we're at the point where I'm going to have 4. So Dingler is going to be my one that's going to be in there every day, and I'm going to take 3 more. And then I'm going to just hopefully take 3 guys that I can rotate between. I'll tell you what I would love to have happen if this falls for me in about 100 picks from now. I would love to have the dual Kyle Higashioka and Danny Jansen combo and just have both of them for Texas. That sounds like a really good idea. That, I mean, if that could fall into place, I would really like that. But there's enough other guys, that are going to be available later. Like Freddie Fermin, I think that's a really sneaky one that I did take 1 or 2 gladiators. Victor Carantini's a sneaky one. We could go upside of Harry Ford later. Patrick Bailey has not done anything offensively, but he's the best defensive catcher. So I keep waiting. I keep waiting to see if Patrick Bailey actually clicks into something offensively one of these years. He's only 26. I'm not going to say that he can't, but he's not showed us anything yet that he has that in his ability. But there's late catchers that we can go between. There's some young ones you could take a gamble on. I mentioned Ford, but there's other ones. What I would ideally like, though, is 2 rounds from now. So this would be, let's see what pick number we're looking at. The 327, 334, like that range, like those 2. That's ideally where I would go ahead and grab my catcher 2 with someone like
Gladiator style.
Bo Naylor or Sean Murphy or Keeber Ruiz or Freddie Fermin, like that's an ideal area there, I think, to grab one of them. But yeah, man, we'll see. That's my plan, though, is I'm going to continue to push it. I'm going to take 4, and I'm going to count on Dingler being my guy that I'm not going to remove from my lineup, and I'm just going to try to play who's hot with the rest. And then if I hit on someone and they stick in my lineup, then great.
Are you trying to hit on anybody, or are you just trying to try to get at bats?
Yeah, well, I will tell you, just because, I mean, I almost hate saying this on the stream where people are going to be picking in a long go around before it comes back to us, but I'll say it anyway. I'm pretty intrigued by Edgar Cuero. Edgar Cuero would be the one that I would think if he makes it with the next go around, because that's the one that I think has the most upside here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go take a quick gander at the roster resource for the White Sox, because they did have made some moves, and I know they just got. So currently, as of right now, they've got Cuero as the DH, hitting 9. And they say he's not in a platoon, but they have Kyle Teal in a platoon. So maybe they're saying Cuero's going to play most days and then sub in for Teal on some days versus lefties, since Cuero's a switch hitter and Teal's a lefty hitter. So
those are
that would be kind of the one I'm looking at if he falls around. And if not, then I'm going to like I said, push it to the next 2 picks after the next 2. So like 3 picks from now, and look at that middle level.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. I like how you're finding a little wrinkle to say, this is the guy I want to get for this reason. This is what's going to happen. That's what you got to do when you get later in these drafts. You just got to find a reason to take a guy. That thing about Cuero being a DH, that's big. I like Sean Murphy as well later being a DH. I think it keeps it off the knees. And like you're saying, the other catcher keeps you fresher and more involved in the game for if the other catcher gets dinged up and you got to play the day game after the night game or whatever. So, yeah, I like those call outs there.
I want to call out one more thing for you, just because I'm sure you probably think this or have thought this already, but just from so many years of having DC teams. So another thing to think about with late, when you push late catcher like this, there's two ways to think about the at-bats, okay? One is a good, one is a bad. Now, the good way to think about it's like Sean Murphy. Let's use him as an example, right? So Sean Murphy is projected to be able to get a lot of at-bats through DH, right?
Right.
So one way you think, oh, that's great because it's accessing that much more potential for his power, his power numbers to help you out. But also, the more at bats that he gets that you're playing him at your catcher too, where he's hitting sub 200, that also is a big drain on your batting average because you're chalking up so many at bats to a low skills. So
now let me tell you, that's exactly right, Spencer. And
so yeah, if you sometimes look at the catcher too who doesn't play every day, but then is maybe all right, you can take the less, like Kyle Higashioka, for instance, not going to play that much a couple times a week, but actually produce in the days he plays. That could actually be more valuable than the catcher who plays more.
Let me show you this. This is exactly what I'm getting to. That now that I realized the rest of this league is up on catcher and paying up for catcher, and what am I going to do? And I don't feel bad about it, but I want to be smart about these plays I'm going to make, because I know it's smart to not pay for catcher, but I want to be smarter. And that's why I commend you for finding these wrinkles in these late catchers while you're going to take them. But what you're talking about is like how much impact a bad average will have on your team because of the at-bats they're taking every day to get the things that you want, which are the counters, right?
Right.
That's what you want. So you want to have a balance between the amount of counters and the amount of at-bats those are getting, because most of the time catcher at-bats are 225 averages, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's why on this chart, I just put straight up percentages of counters per at-bat.
I love that chart.
This is all I'm doing to draft catchers now. So over here on the edge is rank. Your boy Kyle Higashioka is 17th overall in the league, counters per at-bats. They've already
so see that I love to see this, because again, I just pulled his name out because that's in my mind, and bro, that's great because this is exactly what I'm talking about.
And like you're saying, he hits 2 1/4, but he gets those 10 home runs, he gets those 12 counters and 250 at bats. Now, if you can figure out how to work that into your lineup and work another catcher in the other segment of the week in there, come on, that's league winning type of thinking. Right. So, the catcher that I ended up getting before, because I didn't make this chart until I got nervous about catcher this morning. You know what I'm saying? When I was like, Jesus, I feel like Spencer, a smart player, is going to ask me what I'm doing about catcher and how I'm getting caught kind of with my pants down with this catcher thing. So I looked at it, and you know what? The catcher I drafted is and the 238 pick, Austin Wells, is actually ranked 6th in counters per at bat. Okay.
I love that.
So
what was Dingler? What was Dingler?
Let me pull up that chart. I can undo that chart.
It's not as much, I'm sure, because doesn't have as much power as Wells does. Wells is like a 20 homer guy.
There seems to be different characteristics in catchers. Catchers that you would think would be good don't show well in that number. Where's Dingler at? Dingler. I don't even see him on here. Dingler's at 45. See, Dingler
way down low,
because they're showing him at 388 at bats and 14 counters. Now,
what do they have as projected average?
You say the batting average and the impact?
242. Yep.
So that means like it doesn't even really matter if the batting average doesn't have an impact because of the number of at bats you get. Then it doesn't even matter if it's good. Then all you should be chasing is the power, and some of these catchers are throwing in some steals. You know what I'm saying? That's where Austin Wells got boosted. I don't know who projected him for 5 steals, but those count, man. That's where he got boosted.
You get that?
Yeah, that's where he got boosted. So, of course, number 1 is Cal Raleigh, Ben Rice. Contreras is 16. Shea Langoliers is 2. Goodman, Ramirez. I feel better about my Augustin Ramirez shares now that I see he's ranked high in this list.
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely.
But here's the thing. Let's see who's ranked higher, Drake Baldwin or Sean Murphy. Because you're talking about pairing up people. Drake Baldwin, 29, Sean Murphy, 15. So if you want to pair 2 catchers, I mentioned this to you, I think, a while ago in a Gladiator. I said, I have a Gladiator with these 2 catchers on it. I feel stupid. But, I mean, come on. That seems like there's something to having both catchers on a team. You were talking about Danny Jansen and Higoshiyawa, 17 and 22, dude. Be quiet about that.
Right, I know. That's why I'm like, maybe I shouldn't talk about this on here, but here we are.
Let's get off this catcher talk. Let's get off this catcher talk because catchers are still out there being drafted. But yeah, definitely valuing catchers in a different way now because I don't even, unless you've got the top catcher and you've got to pay a ridiculous price to get that top catcher, or you got to pay a 3rd round value to get Shea Langoliers, or you got to do whatever you got to do that. I'm like all the way out. I'm like, give me Austin Wells. Give me somebody else who's just going to get me a decent amount of home runs in few at-bats. And let's hope he's in a predictable platoon where I can put another catcher in for the other at-bats. That's all I'm trying to do.
You know, Logan O'Hoppe is right there, too, with Austin Wells. And whenever I took Dingler, I'm pretty sure that I did that before O'Hoppe and Wells both. I know it was Wells because I took him before you took Wells.
Yeah,
but I'm looking at the board. Where did O'Hoppe go? Yeah, O'Hoppe went after I took Dingler. That's what I thought. So
yeah.
I see. This is why I didn't go with Wells or O'Hoppe. I'll tell you, and why I went Dingler. It's because I think that Dingler is a better batting average for one of those guys like Wells or O'Hoppe that will be playing most days. And I think that I can take a little bit less homers to have the better average in that situation.
And that's
why I went that route.
That's knowing what you're trying to do later, how you're trying to build your outfield, saying maybe I'm going to go a little more outfield power here. But yeah, I like the Dingler pick there. That's actually what drew my attention to that I needed to get catcher. And I was trying to get O'Hoppe, but I had to pick Caleb Durbin. So, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It is like that in the mid-minus catcher. You're like, I don't want to call him mid-minus, but your mid catcher is like Basayo and Moreno. These are like mid-minus catchers, but I think they're going to make more money than these other guys. Anyway.
So I want to ask you before we hop off here, bud. So are you still at 7 pitchers, right?
Still at 7, yeah.
Just by the time we get through the 50 rounds, I'm sure you have an idea on a number already. What's your ideal number as far as how many total pitchers, starters / relievers you like to get at? Because I know I have my number that I like to get at. It's not a solid number. It can adjust by 2 or 3 either way, depending on the team. But what's your number?
My numbers are and it's looking like it's going to be that in this league based on the value. It's going to be 16 and 6.
22. So 22 total.
22, 16 and 6.
I was about to say 22 to 23 is my number. That's right in that range, 22 to 23. That way you have 27 or 28 hitters. Yeah. And I think that so there's 2 ways to think about how many relievers you get. You said 16 and 6. Sometimes because I've done multiple ways, and I've had success and failures both ways, depending on, of course, the players you pick. But you can actually take something like 8 to 10 relievers because there's so many good middle relief arms late. And then if you struggle with, ratios throughout the year, you can plug those guys in, but
I'm scared
it has to work. No, that's what I'm saying.
I'm scared of it.
That strategy is something that can work, but you have to pick right. Because I have done those teams and they've blown up, and I've done some that have worked, but I prefer to have, like you said, I think 6 guys that maybe potentially have the option for saves is your best overall bet.
Now, Spencer, I will tell you what you're talking about is extremely correct, though, because I have felt the need to rely more on the reliever value that you can get later in these rounds 30 up than the starting pitcher value, who you're going to have to start getting after here. That 8, 9, 10, 12 starter, you're going to have to start getting after here after around 20. If you don't get your starters, you're going to think about those relievers.
And that's what I'm getting at with you having 7 pitchers. Now, I only have 8. I only have 1 more than you. But I'm just bringing up the point because it's like just something for you to have on your mind as we move forward. And making sure that you have plenty of proper pitching depth, because I know it's on my mind. It's why I picked the Jack Leiter pick whenever I really didn't want to, but I think Jack Leiter has so much breakout potential.
You know, the one
So,
that burned me on your thinking, because I got off of that thinking, but I was right there. But they sniped Bubik out from underneath of me. Right, he got Bubik, and I had to take Garcia, and this dude just got Casey Mize, or I probably would have pushed Arias off 18. So I'm thinking Bubik and Mize there for 17 and 18, and if they were both available, bro, I might have just been done with pitching, because that's how you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Because look, if I got Chris Bubik there and Casey Mize, I just might be like, man, I can find my fifth outfielder and I can find a first baseman. So
yeah, there's just ultimately what I'm saying is that I think you want to make sure that you have at least 12 minimum good pitchers that you will feel comfortable with, because once you get to your pitchers between 13 to 16, if you're going to take that many starters, it's going to be real, like, more, I mean, obviously more often than not, those guys are going to not work. Or you're going to be taking rookies that maybe you hope come up in the second half of the year. How do you look at rookies? Again, this is your third DC. How do you feel about rookies once you move to round 30 plus? Do you like to take them and hope, or do you like to try to get guys that you've seen?
I'm not. It kind of, if it gets to the point where here's my last DC that I did. Let's just pull this up real quick. I don't like rookies. I like second year guys. And I feel like second year guys, I like second year guys. This year I'm on Zebby Matthews. I'm on guys like that. I would be on like a Joey Cantillo.
But those guys are going, like, they're either gone
You're
by
right.
this. I'm talking about round 30 plus. So from pick 500 on.
So I got Arrighetti, Crawford, JT Ginn, Hunter Barco. Okay, Hunter Barco, I think.
Yeah, Pittsburgh potential saves. Yeah.
Cody Bradford, Davis Martin, Bryce Elder. So that's who rounded out my starters from. Oh no, that's 40. That's on 40. So my starters from 20 to 30. Mackenzie Gore, there's Bubik, Musgrove, Holmes, Soroka, Max Meyer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So you got a good amount of depth there in that particular team. What was your relievers? Because I only heard you say one in your bench with Barco.
Oh, I started Mason Miller. This is a team where I went Mason Miller and then Edwin Uceda, Victor Vodnik. So I'm set. This team is
so you have those three, and then just Barco on your bench and the rest starters.
No, I got Tanner Scott, Alexis Diaz, Yimi
That's
Garcia.
what I was asking.
Yeah.
So Tanner Scott, Alexis Diaz, who else?
Yimi Garcia, who I think is
Yimi Garcia
pick late in the DC. You think about a guy who's actually saved major league games.
Yep. Now here's what I like about those names that you just said: Tanner Scott, Yimi Garcia, and who was the other one again? I'm sorry.
Alexis Diaz, man.
Alexis Diaz. All three of those guys are exactly what I said, and Barco. And that is guys that are potentially good relievers that have the opportunity to get saves if the right situation falls into place. Exactly. And I think that's ultimately it. So I think you did a good job with this last team of executing exactly what I was talking about. So I love that, because I was giving you that advice without seeing this team and you've already done it. So
yeah, this is kind of like, it's always good to hear something that I've come to reinforced by something that you're thinking through your experience and your knowledge as well, because that makes me think I'm going along the right lines here. But I don't think we're going to get values like that happen in this draft, in our draft, man.
No, you got some really great values in this one.
Boy,
when did you draft this one?
This one's from like a month ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Musgrove, Uceda. I don't know. We'll see. This one comes in fourth, so it is what it is. Anyway.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, that was some good discussion.
Good discussion, man. It's always good to see you, dude.
Yeah, you too.
I've been streaming some of these on and off with my for my picks, but hit me up. I think what we should do is we should plan to have a gladiator review and review this in terms of in terms of this is how you would do it if you were a gladiator player. This is how you would feel about it if you were a gladiator player.
For sure. I want to ask you this. I'll ask you this right now too, because I've thought about this. Not probably in the month of February, but in the month of March.
Right.
It'd be a long night, but would you be up to maybe jump on and do a fast DC stream one night where we talk out a fast?
I want to do a fast DC. I want to do a fast DC. I totally do. I'm into that. I'm into it, man.
I would love that. So if we wanted to plan one out at some point in March,
okay.
I mean, even in later February, but I was thinking March simply because I'm only going to do a certain amount of DCs. You know, I really only want to do 3 or 4 at the most.
Me too.
And I usually like to do one of my favorite things for the last 3 seasons now, and it's actually been very successful. 2 of the 3 years I finished first place, drafting the night before the season starts. Doing a fast draft the night before the season.
I want to have a league so bad that's the midnight draft league, and I'm down to draft my last draft of the year to be a fast DC.
Yeah. So anyway, we're on the same page, so we'll talk about that when we get there.
Cool. Keep up the good work, my friend. Stay with that DC
buddy.
Flexibility. I'm looking pitching, and these catchers will work themselves out. Don't worry about those guys.
That's right. We'll figure it out.
All right, brother. Hey, and now this way we don't have to pick in the morning. So,
yes, thank goodness.
All right, Spencer.
All right. You have a good night. See you, Jason.
Later, brother. Peace.
Bye.